How have you conceived of this idea called ethics? Now, recently there was a news, fine? A woman married for 40 days sought a divorce, right, in Agra from the husband on the ground of hygiene. Fine. Do you have any views on this news? So, woman who was married for 40 days recently, she sought a divorce from the husband on the ground that he did not have proper hygiene. What are your views? Unethical. He had very poor hygiene and she was not able to keep up with this hygiene. He used to take bath once or twice a month only. She cited this as the ground, right, for harassment and deterioration of the marital relationship. Similar case was there in Ankara. You know where is Ankara? कहाँ पे अभी? टर्की की कैपिटल है. तो यही ज्योग्राफी भी प्रिपेयर नहीं है अभी प्रॉपर्ली. Same case was there in Ankara. Okay, so anybody, what is the view? Is this justified on this ground?
Because firstly, when she was getting married to that person, she should have seen this.
Well, how does she know the hygiene of a person?
Suddenly after getting married, the person changed.
No, he did not change. He might have been the same way.
That was, if that was the main criteria for her.
Arranged marriages, you don't get that much of time. Right? Even in love marriage also, the person may not exhibit his real nature. Right? A person can fake very easily. What do you think of this news? Let me first know what exactly you have your opinion. Do you have the ability to make opinions or not? That's very important. Right to life with dignity, correct? But hygiene is something very basic, universal function. You cannot say, I'll not brush my teeth. Ever. Because I feel I am the lion of the jungle, right? I don't brush my teeth. No, that's not the logic. That means marriage is a created relationship, right? It's a social relationship. So there are certain basic parameters of any human association. And when you are into a marriage, right, obviously there are some obligations of both or not. So if she is expecting a person to be of better hygiene, her expectation is not wrong. Why? Because it is the basic minimum requirement. नहीं? किस ग्राउंड पे हाइजीन इंपॉर्टेंट है? हेल्थ के ग्राउंड पे और एस्थेटिक्स के ग्राउंड पे. Lot of factors, right? Physical, physiological relationships are created in a marriage. Obviously, that is important. See, so when you see this news, now many people will feel that okay, this is something a part of habit, right? It is a habit and not a character. It is not this person's intrinsic nature. It might be part of his habit, right? And this could be changed. किया जा सकता है? Fine? नहीं किया जा सकता? Can we change this or not? That's very important. You can change it, right? But because it is something settled. Habit क्या होती है? Something which is settled. That is why it becomes a habit. Otherwise, it is more of a hobby. It is once or twice act. That is very different. So once something becomes a habit, it is something like a settled orientation. It cannot be changed so easily, first of all, right? It could be changed, there's no doubt about it, but it could not be changed that easily. And is the intention of the person to change it? Is the will to change stronger than will to keep the habit? Now that is very important. See? Now ethical questions are not something that are big or that are extraordinary in nature. Ethical questions are something which we encounter in everyday lives. And that is how the domain of ethics should be studied. We are not trying to study the philosophical ethics, right? We are not trying to study the ideological aspect of ethics. We are mostly trying to study the applied aspect of ethics. Every day in life, you will encounter certain issues, right? Why I took the example, Turkey, right? Obviously, this is also a different context altogether, dominantly a Muslim country, dominantly a Hindu country, right? Does it make a difference? Doesn't make a difference. Though, yes, though there are or there is an importance of the context, no doubt. For example, if you have to go to a temple, you generally take a bath. Why do you do it? The God is not smelling you. Why do you do it? So today we'll talk about these, some of the common sense aspect, right? Then we'll go into, otherwise if you don't develop common sense, you cannot write this paper. As a habit, okay? Or
want that kind of as a convention that you are
correct.
pure
Okay. So going to a temple normally and taking a bath before going to the temple, or generally it is considered as something which is more respectful to the god. So one logic is ritual, convention. This is created by what? This is created by the social norm or religious norm. Things have to be done in this manner only, right? Otherwise, they will not be fruitful. So a person goes to the temple, he believes he's going to the temple for what? He's going to the temple for performing some ritual. But he believes the ritual will not be complete unless he takes bath. So it is less of the habit, right? It is more of the social control or religious control or the fear. Fear किस चीज से? एक तो God से fear. If I don't complete the procedure, things will not happen, right? Same way you do, right? If you don't solve, maths question will not qualify, CSAT. It's a ritual. If you do a scientific analysis, that may not be totally true. So correct. It has been considered that it purifies, right? That is why I'm saying that there is a format to enter the temple because it has been socially or religiously, it has been rationalized. It has been defined that way that these are the procedures to be followed. So he is not taking a bath because he is habitual of that. He is not taking the bath because he prefers it. He does it because he feels that is the format in which he has to be there. So very important aspect here is what? Fear, ritual, convention, or social and peer pressure. That is the. He might feel that he will be socially discarded if he doesn't do this. Go to the temple, don't put the tika. If you put the tika, people believe you're coming from the temple. See, what is it? These are called settled orientations. These are settled orientations. That a person is studious if he's wearing specs. That means none of you except him, right, are studious as per if I start perceiving that way. 4 years back, I had no specs. So even students would have felt कि ये teacher studious नहीं है. हो सकता है. ये भी logical है. What are these? These are settled dispositions. That means what? If I want to just define कि भाई ये क्या है? What are these? How people view things and how people make sense of those things. That is called social construct. Now from here we'll start our analysis of this paper. See? Something called social construct or social constructivism. Simple examples we can have. Social constructivism, very simple example. Doctor. If any XYZ wears a white coat, right, and keeps a stethoscope. In the movies you might be seeing, है ना, killer white coat पहन लेता है, terrorist white coat पहन लेता है, और आप उसको डॉक्टर समझ लेते हो. क्यों भाई? See, anybody who does this follows an exterior, uh, behavior or exterior, symbolic, physical, manifestation. You start presuming that these are the people who actually are having a similar role, right? They are not exactly that. So what does it do? What does it indicate? That how society or people evaluate things around them, right? Based on constructivism. What is constructivism? Things which have been defined in a particular way. So these things have been defined in a particular way and generalized. Everywhere in the world you go, more or less, these things will be common. They are generalized, they are universalized. That there is a perception which more or less every society holds to be true. Every society. You also somewhere, you're not only talking about the physical appearance, you're not only talking about the technical aspects, right? But you also somewhere believe कि भाई डॉक्टर इसका behavior कैसा होगा? What would be his psychology? Right? That is also you assume. You assume that doctors are supposed to be educated, mild, ethical, right? Having more sensitive orientation. They may have more effeminate orientation, right? They're more sensitive like women, even if they're males, right? What happened in the West Bengal, Kolkata hospital? Doctor was molested, raped, mutilated, and doctors were involved in that. जो principal है वो क्या है? वही तो doctor है. Organ smuggling, right? Then sex determination tests, and likewise commercialization of hospitals, right? Now what does that indicate? Is this kind of presumption regarding the behavior of these people, is it correct or not? It's illogical, right? It may not be absolutely true. So see, what is the fundamental basis of us evaluating anything around us? What is the fundamental basis? अभी तो बताया भाई, social constructivism. Society has generalized certain things, parameters across the globe, not just in India. It is not context-based. It is a general social disposition. That is called a general social disposition, where you evaluate things based on some universal parameters. And majority of these parameters are more or less the consequence of the social understanding. So the social construct can also be taken as simply world view. How society views. World view का मतलब क्या है? The entire sphere of evaluating something. So when you say doctor or medical profession, so there is a worldview regarding medical profession. There is a worldview regarding civil services. There is a worldview regarding political system. There is a worldview regarding something called aspirant. There is a worldview regarding something called teacher. But are they necessarily true? No. Do they set the ethical benchmark? No. Why? Because a lot of things which are understood in this manner, they have a lot of personal biases. They have a lot of non-rational aspects. A doctor being mild, what kind of analysis is that? Doctor being sensitive, yes, acceptable.
That is the general perspective.
Absolutely. I'm coming to that idea. See, worldview. Itna samajh mein aaya pehle? Fine. Our discussion will be very general today so that you understand the entire domain of what you're going to apply now. Fine. See. Now, अब ये worldview है, right? अब ये worldview establish हो गया. So what we did, we may create worldview for different contexts. And what do we do once we have developed the worldview for different contexts? Doctor, civil services, political system, academicians. Once we have created it, right? Through social, right? Analysis, evaluation. What do we do now? हम इसको क्या कर सकते हैं? क्या बोलते हैं फिर हम इसको? हम इसको एक बेंचमार्क बनाते हैं. Understanding? We develop a benchmark for this, right? This benchmark is more or less now generalized in the society. People have basic assumptions based on this benchmark, right? What we are doing here is a mistake. What is the mistake? We are treating, now listen carefully, this is about civil services also. We are treating profession equal to person. Is this correct? No. But to an extent, we can accept it. Profession equal to person. माना जा सकता है? To an extent, माना जा सकता है? Yes. Yes. While a person or the person is performing the particular function, while he is in a particular setting, right? Profession is performed in a setting. So when you say public servant, he is performing this function in a particular context, right? So the parameters or benchmarks to be evaluated are to be used only for the functions he is performing in that context. And these benchmarks should not be generalized for the person. The person includes the professional as well as the personal. So हमारा problem क्या है? कि हम what we do, this person, the profession, right, and the personal, we do not distinguish between them. And this is where we make a lot of mistakes. And this is where a rational analysis or ethical analysis is required. Because we might make mistake while interpreting a politician who is serving the nation to be a philanthropic person, to be a saintly person. That is not true. Understand? Now let's say Atal Bihari Vajpayee. You know about him? So he was a famous politician, statesman, prime minister, whatever, right? So somebody asked him that, are you virgin? He said, no. I'm unmarried, but not virgin. Now, a person in a political system occupying one of the highest positions of this country, he gives this statement. How will people interpret this statement? See, the conservative society would start evaluating it. What he's saying is truth. We should appreciate that person for the truth he is speaking, not for the nature of content he is talking about. You start judging people on that or not. So the moment you say, a politician, a public figure, he should not talk about this. Now what he's talking about here is this. It has no consequence whatsoever for this. Even though people might say personal character has influence, yes, but it is vice versa. The system has influence on personal and personal has influence on system. It is not just one way. Right? But let us say every time we are evaluating anything ethical or unethical, what do? We somewhere fuse these two things. And that is why we make mistake. This is a very necessary aspect for understanding the case studies. Right, now let's see. So it is obvious that there are worldviews, there are benchmarks that we have set, right? Now what is the basis of this benchmark? Let's come to the next part. This part is understood that, okay, there is social construct, there are worldviews, right? And there are certain assumptions that we have made. We have universalized these assumptions and more or less we have fitted that into a context. Whenever we look at that context, we presume that these are the specific characteristics which will be exhibited, or at least which is desirable. So the bottom line comes here what? That we somewhere distinguish things into desirable versus undesirable. Fine. Desirable versus undesirable. Let me give you a simple example. अब कैफका बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग, उसका एक Kafka has given one statement, very interesting statement, right? Let's say that is a very interesting example. Butterfly versus cockroach versus earthworm. Fine. Whom would you keep as a pet? None of them. Why butterfly? The least harmful is earthworm. Right? Butterfly itself might create some problems. बटरफ्लाई जो है पॉलिनेशन में इन्वॉल्व होती है. फाइन. तो ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें हो सकती है जो वो ट्रांसमिट कर सके इधर से. राइट. कॉकरोच चलो मोर ऑफ द अनहाइजीनिक. But you see, cockroach is basically not unhygienic. What he's doing, he's eating up the dirt, right, to make things more hygienic. But let us say, still we imagine कि चलो ये third number पे है, लेकिन यहाँ ये तो first number पे है, ये second पे, ये third पे, right? Now you don't want to keep them as pet. Right? In fact, you don't want even to see them. You don't want to touch them, right? Earthworm has lot of utility, correct? Fertility, right? Biofertilizers, biopesticides, a lot of things earthworm has contribution to, right? Then why not? Q.
It doesn't seem desirable.
That's what is important. See, so ethics, one of the important criteria for something desirable is what? This is a very important aspect. Things how society has created, right, to be desirable, they are majorly based on aesthetics and beauty. Appearance, correct. That is more of aesthetics. See. So if a restaurant is made very fancy and beautiful, but they serve the worst meal, still you might be tempted to go there. Fine? No? 5-star coaching? No? Right? Counselors, big doors, AC, centralized AC, and all that. अब अंदर वो कुछ भी कूड़ा पड़ा है उससे मतलब नहीं. Why? Because that's true. The moment you enter such systems, you get already dominated by the entire paraphernalia which is there, the entire aesthetic structure which has been created. That aesthetic structure has already been created to make you biased already the moment you enter the system. You enter a grand hotel, but you go and stay in a room. How does that grand hotel help you in making your life comfortable? You are going and staying in just one room. But what are you concerned about? How big was the entrance to the hotel? How big was the lobby? Right? How big chandeliers were put? What a mechanism of lighting, right? An array of staff, stewards. तुम इससे impress होते हो, उनका करना क्या तुम्हें? You have to do anything with them? It may have one of the biggest lobbies in the world. You are not going to sit in the lobby, right? You're going to use the room. Amenities can be provided without having a big lobby. Right? See? So there are something called boutique hotels. They customize things as per your need. Right? Now see, everything that we evaluate prima facie on the face of it is based on what? The standards of aesthetics and beauty. That's very true. You want to marry someone, a smart man, right? Educated, civil servant, for example, not even civil servant, but educated, highly academic, right? Successful, but he's bald. Fine? Now someone is a height 5 feet 1 inch, but bureaucrat है, civil servant है, सारे उसके पास achievements है, right? IIT है, gold medal है, IIM है, सब कुछ है, IAS भी है, but उसकी height 5 feet 1 inch है. Now we're not demeaning, see, the physical appearance. What we're trying to say that whatever achievement somebody has, instantly what impacts you? Aesthetics. That is how the human mind works. So aesthetics becomes a very integral part of what is desirable and what is undesirable. So you might assume this way that society would have placed some importance on aesthetics while deciding what is desirable, what is undesirable. No, Achal, it's not just aesthetics. I'm saying aesthetics is one important basis.
Like it's very inherent in human nature. Like there's no proper shape in that nature, but you always advise the perfect circular shape.
बिल्कुल correct है बिल्कुल. So let us say I'm just coming to that point, Achal. So it is not this. It is one of the most important fundamental bases that appeals to human nature. That means what? We are prominently influenced by the physicality. There is no doubt about it. You might say कि मुझे पैसे वाला नहीं प्यार करने वाला चाहिए, but 5 years 3 years के अंदर वो प्यार खत्म हो जाएगा. That's true. Fine. If you want, you can try it in your life. So the moment you say pyar, you doesn't know, right? We cannot define what is that pyar. There is no standard definition of that. There is no manifestation of that, right? It is also a kind of habit. You become accustomed to certain people and you become emotionally dependent on them. And that is what you misconstruct as love. That is as easy as that. Better still, right? If you refer to doctors and biochemists and biologists, they will say, or scientists, they will say कि भाई love कोई कुछ है ही नहीं, वो सिर्फ एक chemical emotion है, right? Biochemical reaction. That's love. I mean, if you start feeling good, you have more dopamine. You start feeling good more. You have more dopamine. Finish. But over the time, this boost of dopamine goes down. Why? Because when you start seeing someone for a long period of time, right, what happens? You shift your focus from the broader aspect to micro aspect. Then you start seeing कि hygienic नहीं है. Fine, इसके पास basic courtesy नहीं है, basic sensitivity नहीं है. See? Now see. So aesthetic is not the only criteria. Aesthetic is an important criteria. So many scholars have believed, right? Hume, Bentham, Mills, right? A lot of other scholars, they have believed, even Osho, if you take him also as one important philosopher. So they have believed that, okay, one of the fundamental search for study of ethics is what? Is to search for desirable versus undesirable. And one of the important aspects is what? Of human nature or human life. One of the important needs of human life is what? To search for what is good, what is aesthetic, what is beautiful. As simple as that. All of them somewhere arrive at one particular criteria, that our ultimate ambition in life is something called good life. You understand? Now, good life, as per, let's say, Aristotle, he talks about virtuous life. Good life is virtuous life. How can you have a virtuous life? So the search for study of ethics, the search or the entire domain of the study of ethics revolve first around identifying the meaning, the understanding of what is a good life. Right? What is good? What is good life? What is aesthetic? And what is beauty? These are the three basic aspects. You apply it and don't take aesthetics or beauty literally. Like you said, we are searching for symmetry. What is it? Why the roti has to be circular, right? Why can't you have rectangular roti? Will it change the basic component of roti? Will it change the carbohydrate composition? Will it change the taste? Why not then? Now see, mother-in-laws are looking for such daughter-in-laws who can make gol chapati. For what? Right? Even a mathematics teacher, female, cannot make gol chapati. She might be teaching circles and spheres, but she cannot make gol chapati. No, see, that is the idea. It seems illogical. If the purpose of the roti is the consumption of a basic energy, right? Utilization of basic energy from the carbohydrate, right? Fulfilling the taste that comes from that, right? Or satiating your hunger, then how does it matter? It is rectangular or circular. Now you're making it rectangular and you're giving it a different name. What name are you giving it to? Rectangular roti. You have not eaten paratha, or what is that? Rumali roti or something you see. क्यों करते हो? इसीलिए करते हो. There is a standard parameter. If you have to deviate from it, then you have to create a different benchmark. Right? You say naan बनाएंगे, तंदूरी नान, बटर नान. क्यों बोला कि अब एक नया पैरामीटर क्रिएट हो गया. सी, are you getting? See, popular. I'll give you several examples like that. See, everything that you search for, everything that you're aspiring for in your life somewhere corresponds to these three elements. Right? When you say, I want, what does it correspond to? You want to be IAS. All three. See, you can have comfort. That is the first parameter. Who says service is the first parameter? Comfort is the first parameter. Right? Security is the first parameter. So do you believe that important component of good life is comfort? Important component of good life is security. And you see, everybody will say, once I become collector, then I will have a beautiful house, a beautiful wife, a beautiful car, a beautiful this, whatever. If I have money, who says, right, that I will not have a beautiful house? So beauty may have its own contextual understanding, that's different. But who will say that I will not have a beautiful house, a beautiful car, a beautiful wife, beautiful kids? Who says कि हमें नहीं चाहिए ये? Understanding? ठीक है, कौन बोलता है ऐसे? That means what? इसका एक बहुत बड़ा रोल है कि नहीं है? Good के essence में these two have big role to play. So that's why I'm saying don't take it literally. Beauty doesn't mean somebody looking very beautiful, right? Beauty means that people are aspiring for something, right, which they believe has all three components: goodness, beauty, aesthetics. So when you think of doing anything, when you think of something as desirable, right, you use basic parameters. So when Aristotle says virtuous life, what is a virtuous life? Aristotle supported the idea of good life. If you know, Aristotle was also somewhere the guru of Alexander. Fine, and he was not very fond of him. But you see, now Alexander found beauty in what? Violence, conquering, acquiring. He found beauty in that. He found aesthetics in that. right? He found the purpose of good life in that. Now he found the purpose of good life in nomadic life, fighting war throughout his life. Now there are people who will find good life or purpose in life as security of their nation. Some people will find good life or purpose of good life in doing or serving the society. Some people will find goodness in earning money. It doesn't matter. So see, there is a constant conflict when we think of the human existence, the society in which we are living in. What is the constant conflict? Is how to move from the undesirable to the desirable. How to search for the desirable. Now, desirable has, like I said, everybody wants a good life. Everybody has comfortable life or need for a comfortable life, and they have the parameters. So there are some standard parameters society has already created. First, you have been able to understand this. Now, see, there are now people, like I said, Aristotle says virtuous life. Now, virtuous life or good life, the essence of ethics lies in this good or the ultimate understanding of what is good so that we can have something called good life. Now, this good life has two aspects. Right? We'll study attitude, aptitude, public service values, emotional intelligence, a lot of things we'll study. See, why do we study that? So that we can understand how and what exactly is the inherent nature of human being. And can we explore, can we understand scientifically what is his inherent orientation and how he is going to act? So one of the basic parameters that helps us understand that if people are given a choice between good or bad, most likely what they are going to choose. Let's say, for example, a civil servant has the option of taking the bribe and not taking the bribe. In any case, he has to do the job. उसको अपना ड्यूटी करना ही करना है. Now, majority of these people, public servants, will realize that when I have to do my duty, right, and I am getting paid for it, so I should choose this. It's not a matter of something moral or immoral. What is the issue? What is the basic criteria? That if I am doing something and I am getting benefited for it, what is wrong in that? Because I am doing something, you understand? Now, bureaucrat, as you may evaluate, bureaucrat may not evaluate his action on the basis of moral or ethical. He may merely evaluate his action on the basis of utility and need, or a kind of bargain. That, okay, fine, I'm doing this for him, and so he's also doing something for me. So when you're writing the case studies, right, you may always presume, okay, bureaucrat's action can be considered corrupt. He is deliberately corrupt. No, he's not. He might not have thought about it. Fine, because ultimately, right, there are things which every human desires. But while sitting, right, but while sitting in the public post, then his criteria of evaluation must change. But normally he may not do so. Kyun? Why he will not do it? He should do it. He should have evaluated, okay, fine, this is better, this is good than this one. Right? There is no aspect of choice. Automatically, this should have been chosen. Right? This is not even a choice. Let's not take it. But he doesn't do it with him. Why? Just now I said society. His context has shaped him. Right? His system has somewhere accepted this basic idea that being good not necessarily being becomes or means being moral. गुड होने में और मॉरल होने में डिफरेंस है. Yes, that is how that is how he has been trained. Society has trained it. Society has made the ideal of No, society is not talking about bribery, just understand. Society is simply saying that what is a good life? A good life is where you live a prosperous life, where you live a comfortable life. Now, society has never endorsed moral life. Society has endorsed good life. Your parents teach you, beta, jhoot mat bolna. Fine? And the same parent, when they speak jhoot in front of you, they justify it on some ground. Right? The same parents say don't criticize anyone, and they keep criticizing their own relatives and people, and then they justify it in front of you. Fine? You see, society does not have established standards of morality. They may have established standards of doing something correctly or incorrectly. You understand? That correct or incorrect does not mean. It is different, Achal. Being good is being good, socially acceptable. Being moral may not be socially acceptable. वो चीजें जो सोसाइटी मानता है सही है, not necessarily. See, if religion says this is good, but your mind says this is not good, right? At a human level, you say this is not good. Which is moral? The human evaluation or the religious evaluation? Human evaluation.
But sir, जैसे सत्य है, जब तक वो dominant factor था.
So that's fine. But was again, why is that is social good? That may not be universal moral. So there will always be a conflict between what is good and what is moral. A good wife, right? A moral wife, an ethical wife. What is the difference? A good wife is one who follows the social norms. A moral wife is one who chooses between right and wrong. An ethical is one who evaluates whatever I have chosen is actually rational or not. That's the difference between good, moral, ethical. क्योंकि वो already given है. Ethical में rational evaluation होता है. Right? Don't think about it right now. We'll talk about. Don't worry. Fine. But as of now, you try to understand good का sense क्या? Good में, right? There are various factors. कि what does this good constitute? So when we study something called public interest, public administration, government has to serve public interest. We always try to find out what is that interest. Is there any criteria for achieving that public interest or not? Do we have? Can we define public interest? We can, right? Why not? We can define, but can we define in one conclusive way? No. Not defining and not defining conclusively, they are two different things. We can define it. But there will be several parameters of defining what is public interest. So same way, when you say good, now good has two aspects, right? One, which we call as, see, the universal imperative. The other is the contextual. Now see, from here, lot of aspects or lot of debates will emerge, lot of understanding will emerge from this very basic idea. Good has universal imperatives and good has contextual imperatives or contextual requirements. What are universal imperatives? Like for example, or let us say, can I divide this further? Then we'll talk about it. Let's say this can be further divided into tangible and intangible. See, what we are going to study will be purely applied based so that you are able to solve every damn question that's in the exam. As simple as that. We are not concerned with theoretical or useless superfluous terminologies, right? We are exactly going to understand things the way they are asked. and obviously more in depth rather than philosophical analysis that is useless. एरिस्टोटल को क्या अच्छा लगता था, मुझे उससे क्या करना है? मुझे तो ये समझना कि भाई एरिस्टोटल की बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग राइट या बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट क्या है और हाउ इट इज अप्लाइड टू माय लाइफ एंड माय administration, my governance. That's important. So that's useless, right? Though, right? That is also important. So tangible, intangible, yahan bhi tangible, intangible, right? You just keep understanding, leave everything else, right? We have already a process, and you'll understand everything in that process. आपको सिर्फ ये फॉलो करना है. यूनिवर्सल इंपरेटिव्स क्या है? टैंजिबल और इंटैंजिबल, कॉन्टेक्चुअल, टैंजिबल, इंटैंजिबल, राइट? ये पैरामीटर्स. टैंजिबल क्या है? लाइक वी सेड, करेक्ट, मटेरियल सक्सेस. दिस इज अ यूनिवर्सल पैरामीटर of anybody achieving something in life. Anywhere in the world you go, right? Dominantly society will value that there is some material success, right? Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have car? Do you have bank account? Do you have this much of FD, mutual fund, whatever? ये एक basic parameter है, universally applicable है. Fine. What else? What else? करेक्ट, चलो ठीक है, हेल्थ ले लो. देन इज्जत, सोसाइटी स्टेटस, चलो. राइट, हाउ एक्सेप्टेड यू आर इन द सोसाइटी, राइट? एंड लाइकवाइज देयर आर लॉट ऑफ सिंपल थिंग्स व्हिच सोसाइटी यूनिवर्सली वैल्यूज. अब इनटैंजिबल क्या है यूनिवर्सल? लेट्स से हमने बोला ऑनेस्टी. Is it valued? Yes, it is valued. Right? Honesty is valued. Then?
Having good relationships.
Okay.
Respect in society.
Okay, respect. ठीक है. चलो esteem बोल देते हैं. Then?
Human satisfaction.
You have social relations, right? You have love, affection, right? So you're honest, you're loving, affectionate, you're loved by people, right? What else? क्या सोसाइटी वैल्यू देता है इंटेलेक्ट को? राइट? एकेडमिक नॉलेज को वैल्यू देता है? इंडियन सोसाइटी नहीं देता है. Obviously, academicians should have more power than civil servants. Fine. They can shape the nation. They can only implement the policy. There's a difference. Bureaucrats don't shape nations. The academicians and researchers and scientists do. Bureaucrats only follow the beaten path, whatever has been defined. तो और गवर्नमेंट बोलती है मैंने हाईवे बनाया. अरे हाईवे तुमने बनाया या बनवाया? बनवाया. फाइन. बनाया किसने? If you say we have understood poverty better, who made you understand poverty better? The economist. Which is obvious, right? Correct, Pooja. Right. Justice. बिल्कुल. Fairness, equality. बहुत सारे ऐसे assumptions हैं ऐसी जो intangible हैं, which are universally human rights, right?
Justice can be tangible, but sense of justice.
No, justice can also be intangible, right? Sense of justice, you understand that way. Judicial system is tangible. Justice tangible नहीं है ना, judicial system tangible है.
So, but judges usually justice देता है.
But justice करना, justice serve होना, right, is more or less sense of satisfaction, no? It's sense of acceptance.
But sir ये पैरामीटर की वजह से एक्ट करता है कि मतलब इसका मतलब justice करने.
Judgment और justice में फर्क है ना. Justice का sense होता है that if a society has those systems which keep this entire procedure fair, transparent, acceptable, right? What you can say, visible to everyone, participative in nature, so justice है. These means must be defined in a particular way, right? So don't keep justice only as judicial system. Justice तो वहां भी है जहां positive discrimination है, right? Women reservation है वो भी justice है, right? So understand this way: equality, justice, lot of things are there, right? Now see. So we have something called good, and we have universal imperatives which more or less define कि भाई these are the established good across any human society. We are not talking about dictatorial regimes. We are not talking about traditional, religion dominated these kind of societies, right? But वहां भी good होता है, उनके हिसाब से भी good है. So when we come to this idea, when we develop this idea as a domain of analysis, that are there some universal parameters of understanding desirable and undesirable, right? Good versus bad. So we use these parameters and we develop a standard. Are you understanding? When we develop these standards and then we apply to different situations in understanding what has been done. Good is there or not? Is it a good life or not a good life? Is it a work or action towards a good life or not a good life? जब हम इसको apply करते हैं, universal, right? What do we call this idea? See? Ethical absolutism or universal absolutism. When we say don't kill animals, fine, we are basing it that on some belief, on some assumption, on some parameter. What is that? Universal absolutism, that yes, the human life, the living being should be valued. The universal parameter, right? But may not be acceptable by me, that's okay. So from or on the basis of universal parameters, I can understand things which are happening around us, right, as good or bad. But this will be working more like an umbrella system. It is the broader perspective, it is the broader framework. Now, within this framework, there will exist several societies now. These several societies will have their own good and bad now. So when we come to this aspect, that what exactly or how exactly am I going to evaluate myself as good or bad? Then now I have two levels of evaluation. What is one level? Is my immediate environment, is my immediate context, right? And in this context, kya aata hai? See, in this context, a lot of things can come, right? So it will be technically my knowledge. And this will have a lot of aspects: religion, culture, tradition, social parameters, or you can use the word social norms. Fine. It may also have some geographical impacts. Right? People living in jungle may have different view of the world, and people living in urban areas may have different view of the world. So geographical bhi hai, territorial bhi hai, fine, intellectual bhi hai. Yes. An academician views a problem in a different way, a researcher views in a different way, a public servant views in a different way, same problem. So see, your academic development, academic understanding, right? A normal person who believes politics kya honi chahiye, a normal person talks about politics in terms of road, roti, kapda, makan, finish. And intellectual things in terms of governance, in terms of ethics, justice, equality, democracy, and so many other aspects. Right? So, you have lot of other aspects. अब आपका इसमें प्रोफेशन भी आ जाएगा. It's quite contextual. For a doctor, saving a human life is the ultimate good, right? For an army person, it is not. Killing the enemy is the ultimate good. So if we take human rights as the ultimate good, the army person would not be able to do his job. So we have to make something logical, right? Of whatever we are talking here. What is logical? What is practical aspect of this? We say that it's okay, fine. That apart from these general virtues, right? Something good. There are some specific or contextual virtues also. When a Kasai is killing the animal, when a butcher is killing an animal, what he's doing? He's doing his duty. Though from universal parameter, he might be doing something immoral, killing an animal, right? But from his contextual aspect, what he's doing is doing his duty. That's his duty. क्यों उसका प्रोफेशन है, उस प्रोफेशन की ऑब्लिगेशन है. But see, why not? Duty is a necessity. अब कुछ प्रोफेशंस लीगल होंगे, कुछ इलीगल होंगे. अगर बूचर एक लीगल प्रोफेशन है, तो वो जो कर रहा है वो ड्यूटी है उसकी. Why? See, it is justified on many grounds. When there are consumers, what is he doing? He is feeding the consumers. But there is a demand, right? So if you say on that ground, not everything can be justified. Say somebody selling a cocaine, right? Using cocaine for medical purposes, justified. Cocaine is cocaine, right? Using cocaine for consumption purpose or for recreational, or let's say for entertainment or for addiction purpose, not good. But it is the same cocaine, no? Hemp, grass, weed, ganja, whatever you say, they have a lot of medicinal purpose. 70% of the states have legalized. In the United States, it is legalized. They have legalized use of that. You go to Netherlands, and they have pot shops. They sell, right, publicly the weed and this grass. You can go there. Same person who says this is illegal in India goes there and consumes it there. Fine. Lot of cities in the world, right? Prostitution is legalized. So when you say talk about it here, right? It's a taboo. It's a big social issue. There, it is a profession. Now, what is the criteria? That's very important. So when you're saying butcher killing the animal is bad, no, he is not killing it for pleasure. He's killing it for profession. वैसे तो दुनिया में कोई भी प्रोफेशन जस्टिफाइड नहीं है. पुलिस ऑफिसर इज बीटिंग पीपल, इज इट जस्टिफाइड? फांसी इज जस्टिफाइड? ओके. पुलिस ऑफिसर beating people, right? Or using force to stop people, right? Is it justified? No. So what is your ground? If you're taking a universal parameter, using force is bad, right? Using violence is bad against their own people, then it will be illogical to understand it. That is why you have a second level of parameter. That in the broader analysis, fine, it may not be totally justified, but when I localize it, what is localizing? When I use it as per my context, then I am justified. Why? Because the first world that is created around me is based on what? My context. The second world is beyond this. So I will try to keep my actions, my desire for good as far as possible around it. Right? But if it doesn't happen, that does not mean I'm totally immoral. Why? Because I'm acting as per my context. This is the first thing that impacts me. Are you getting? On that ground, dowry has been justified. On the universal ground, it is not. Contextual ground, it is justified. People have used the concept of stridhan for dowry. That ultimately this money was supposed to be, right, supposed to be given to the woman, right, and not to the in-laws. On that ground, it is justified. So try to understand there are no fixed moral benchmarks. There are no fixed ethical benchmarks, right? But definitely, the study of ethics tries to bring all these things into a rational structure. That is the purpose of study of ethics. It knows there are local, contextual, regional, universal factors which shape our understanding of good or bad, right or wrong, right? So how can a subject define things in a particular manner, in an organized, systematic manner, so that it can be understood in a better way? That is the idea. That is why we are studying ethics, right? So let us say, fine, you are using now a contextual aspect also. There is immediate environment which shapes your action, right? What is this called? This is called ethical relativism. Fine? Ethical relativism. Sometimes use the word contextual ethics or contextual morality. We'll come to the difference, don't worry. Morality, contextual ethics. People, many times we use the word local values, right? These may be taken as global values. So let's simplify it first, that how we think of things around us as good or desirable or bad. So there are basically two aspects, one or two types of evaluations, one of the tangible aspects, one another of the intangible aspect. One universal level, other contextual level. Fine. This idea is clear. How do we start all this? From the concept of something called social construct, worldview. Right? My worldview is shaped by my factors around me. And obviously, they are also shaped by some universal parameters because I get exposed to other things also. Fine. Now, see. इतना ये logic समझ में आया? So ultimately, let us say that now when we study philosophers, scholars who have tried to explore this good, you understand? Now they have somewhere equated this good, right, in a particular way. That good is not